Alright guys, we're back and we got a very special guest. One of my closest friends, Alex Caruso, is here with us on the podcast today. Alex.
I'm excited to be here. Appreciate you guys having me. It's a blast to get to do. I love to listen to the podcast. I love the clips. So I'm just excited to get to be part of it.
So for the people that don't know Alex, you want to talk a little bit about what you do?
Yeah, so primarily I'm a fantasy football and betting content creator, mostly on Twitter and TikTok. I've been doing like betting content for about 3 years, and I've been doing it full time for like the last year and a half now.
That's insane. Alex and I go way back. When did we meet? 7th grade?
No, it was 4th grade.
Fourth grade?
4th grade was the first class that we had together. It was Miss Fanos' class in
Miss
4th
Fanos'
grade,
class, I do remember that.
That's like 14 years ago now.
14? Are we that old?
Yeah, it was 2023. It was 2010.
That was 2010?
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
Yeah, we're getting old. Who would have thought though? Like,
Who would have thought?
Like this long after, like just meeting.
Yeah, my longest friend for sure. 14 years, long time.
Yes, sir. All right, what do you have for questions, Alex?
Let's just go back. So where'd you go to high school?
So I went to Gardner growing up, and then I went to Oakmont for high school.
All right, and then going into college, would you?
Yeah, so
plan?
I went to Suffolk. I was a psychology major, and my plan was to be a therapist. I was going to get my master's, and I loved the psych stuff. But I just happened to fall into a couple friends that wanted to start a Boston sports podcast over COVID. And so we did like 2 episodes of this podcast. My friends immediately gave up. And like the ironic part about it was I probably talked the least out of the 3 of us that were on that show. But we finished and I was like, okay, like why not, start my own podcast? Like that sounds fun. And I like fantasy football. So I was like, why not start it about that? So that's when I kind of did like the pilot season of content creation, which is like the end of my sophomore year of college. And then from there, it just kind of took on and started to add more layers. Like, once I got better at the podcast, it was, okay, how can we get to TikTok? How can we get to Twitter? And then I was just trying to continue to get better at using every platform all throughout the last couple of years to be able to do it full time eventually, like now.
That's huge.
So the end of your sophomore year was at 2021?
Yeah, it was 2020. And it's like my first episode was like late July of 2020. I just did a podcast. Like I had no microphone. I used to literally just record on my iPhone, like sitting on my desk. And I didn't have any equipment. I used like a free podcasting app that I ended up using the whole way. And like I had like fans on in the background and no idea what I was doing, but like I just loved it. And then eventually like my whole idea for growing it, because like who's gonna like listen to your random podcast, right? Like how do you find people to do it? Was like I would just reach out to as many people as possible, like in my industry, which is fantasy football. So like the February, which is like right before my second season of the show, I made a list in my notebook of like 150 names of people that I wanted to get on my show. And I spent one day, like a few hours, like writing down every social media that every single person was on. So a lot of these people have like really big Twitters, for example, with fantasy football. That's like the big spot. So I would find like who has Facebook, who has LinkedIn, who has Instagram, and I would send I sent a message to like all 150 people on that list just to try to get like a couple yeses. And I probably got 10 or 15 yeses, but it was like once I got one of those, it was like, okay, how can we take advantage of every single one of these yeses and make them want to come back? Because the philosophy was like, okay, if I can get one person to enjoy it, they're more likely to say to you, okay, like, yeah, you should go on that podcast. And then once I got bigger guests, they would retweet it. Some of their followers would listen to the podcast, and then some of them would like it and stay. And it's just that gradual growth, that just building up more and more and more of that free exposure. Like if you don't have money for ads, that was my easy way to be able to get exposure through other people's much bigger names than I was.
That's crazy. So like going into like when you first started, what was like your mindset going in?
Like when I started going in, it was just more like for fun. Like it was just like I like doing this, and like this is really cool that there's real people. I got really lucky because it was like my 5th TikTok video I ever made. Yeah. I got like 100,000 views, and that's when like everything changed for me. Because it was a video that wasn't that great, but it just ended up popping off, and like that initial rush was like, okay, like if I can get 100,000 views in a video, like why can't I do that again? So it just became like a constant, like chasing that adrenaline rush of getting a viral video or having something that got a lot of views. And it was like, okay, like once things started to grow, it was like, how can we do that again?
Mm-hmm.
So I think a lot of like my brand was just like, once you figure out how to do something once, like get a video with 100,000 views, how can I replicate that? So it became like, I'm like looking at all these different videos, that all my best videos, and how can I recreate this like today? And then it just became a constant stream of just like, my mindset was just like, how can I replicate the things that did really well? Because I don't know how to recreate it because I've never done it.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like, how can I take this one video that got 100,000 views and make another version of that flows similarly, it looks similarly, it just has like a different title or idea behind it.
Yeah.
And then it was just trying to replicate those ideas over and over again until I started to grow.
So would you say that like some of the content that you push out like gets repetitive at all or no?
100%. It was super repetitive. It was really repetitive, honestly. And that probably wasn't like now at this point, you have to be a little bit more careful, but like when you have like less than 10,000 followers on a TikTok or something like that, like no one cares.
Mm-hmm.
So I was going to make the same video 100 times if I had to, if that's what's going to get views, because like I wasn't doing it full time. There's millions and millions of people that had never seen one of my videos before. So if you were one of like the 5 people that were watching a video of mine for the second time and you're mad about it, that's fine.
Yeah.
But it was like, I was so small that like, I was trying to just like recreate the same things over and over in different versions of it, because that was like how I was going to grow.
Mm-hmm.
Because there weren't many repeat people. If you were a repeat person, you're less likely to stop watching my videos if you already tuned in for a second one.
Exactly.
Everything in my brand is like, how can I get someone to see it for the first time? Because if you enjoy it the first time, you're a lot less likely to leave. So I'm always chasing first time people, because like that's how I can grow a bigger audience, because the people that have already dealt with it, with the craziness, like they're less likely to leave.
Interesting.
That makes sense.
And it's all, how can I pull more and more people off the street rather than like, you guys are my dogs, you're gonna ride with me. You know what I mean?
Right.
Absolutely.
Like the people that really like my stuff are gonna stick with me.
Exactly.
So it's how can I pull in people that have never seen it?
Bring them to that point.
And that's how you grow, because I wasn't trying to cater to the people that knew it and act like they knew it. It was like, I'm only trying to cater to people that had never seen me before.
Okay.
Interesting. I think it's similar too with like clothing as well. It's like we're always looking to like sell our clothes to newer people, but at the same time it's like, how can we gain the trust of a newer person to spend X amount on something without ever doing it, you know, or without ever seeing it in person, you know what I mean? So I think like the biggest thing for us that has helped us is like a lot of like the pop-up shops and like places like where they could physically see, oh, this is a nice hoodie, and then they can buy it on the spot. But then if you see it online, you can't really judge the quality of it. You can't really judge like how it's going to be or like how it's going to fit, things like that. So I think that's been something that we've been struggling with a lot, of just like how to figure out how to sell physical products instead of like selling like advice or like a service or things like what you do basically.
Completely. No, it's a big thing, and it was just like, however I could figure out like, why did someone buy my thing, or like, why did someone watch this video? It's just like, okay, like if I got Owalid to buy my video, or like buy my, like listen to, if I got Owalid to watch this video or put a like on it, like why did he like that video? Right. Because if I can figure out why you liked it, I can repeat that for the next one, because I'm more likely to have someone else like my video or comment for the same exact reason. Okay. So it was constantly like, okay, like what worked? How did I sell to that person? How did I sell them when watching my video? Okay, how can I sell that to someone else? I mean, the same thing for a clothing brand. Like if you can figure out why someone random would buy your stuff, they don't know you, at like a pop-up shop, like why do they buy it? Okay, well, how can I get someone else to buy it for the same reason? Because like then, because then at that point, like if you can get, 5 people to buy everything for the same reason, you're more likely number 6 is going to be for like that reason or something different. Okay. But then the second that one of those 5 people has a different reason for buying it, I'm trying to sell to 5 more people for that different reason. Okay. So it's just like figuring out how it works once and then just trying to repeat it.
Okay. Interesting. I never thought about it like that, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same. I mean, I do a lot of my content is based around that. Even right now, that like if I find a post that works, I'm trying to recreate that post every single day if it went viral. Right. And how can I repeat this 10 times and figure out that piece of works? How can I repeat that every single day? Because I know that there's more and more people. So even if I have a bigger audience or I had 5 people watching, it's the same thing. As I figured out what people wanted, and then how can I repeat that and make it look different, like constantly. It's not the same exact content, but I can keep the same formatting or structure or like the timing of it. Just different things like that you can focus on, so you can control those things to get other people to be more likely to tune in again.
Okay.
Interesting. Because I remember a lot of what you used, like what you told me before, is like you were going through and then you were like telling me exactly like in your Twitter threads, like how many words need to be in each line.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, but I can't use this because the line's too long. And I'm just like, how does this kid know that? How did you like go about like figuring that out?
Yeah, I mean, it goes a lot with kind of what I was saying, where with different things like that, like when I was writing these Twitter threads and I was trying to get people to engage with it, like I had my first like viral thread in July of 2022. That's when I was starting to write these little research pieces for people. And it was like, once I had one that I was excited, this is July of last year, I had 7,000 followers on Twitter. I had no hope of doing this full time at all. It wasn't a possibility. And someone said, like, why don't you try out these like Twitter threads, which are like these more like long form research pieces, right? And so I made one, but you know how I just talked about like trying to find something that sells? I just started looking at other people's ones that went off. And once I saw that, I recreated my own. So I pretty much took like I tried to like format theirs similar with like my content. And then that first thread I ever wrote gained me like 3,000 followers.
Really?
I mean, my following went up like 50%. So the next day it was like, how can I do that exact same thing again with something else? So in like football, I was talking about running backs. So the next day I was like, how can I make this content the exact same with wide receivers? And then like the third day I was like, how can I make this with running backs and wide receivers in the same thing? Because this is what's working. So that was what's working. Like it was just like, how can I milk this same format out a million times so that it works? But then like what you're talking about is like there's specific things with formatting that I was learning, is because I was doing the same thing every single day and I was perfecting it.
Right.
So that the more I would do it after doing it 10 times, I was like, wait, this right here might be wrong. Let me try that on number 11. And if my number 11 got more views, then I would try to do that same thing in number 11 on number 12, 13, and 14.
Okay.
And then after 14, you're like, oh wait, there's another thing I noticed that I could do this better. What if I tried this? So it was just like a constant tweaking of doing things that people really liked. And then like through trial and error, you figure out, okay, like people are more like, I get more views on this format than that format. Or if I use this word, like breakout is a power word for football, or skyrocket.
Okay.
Like when you hear that, like skyrocket, like you get excited. So it's like, how many different things can I use the word skyrocket in?
Okay.
Because every single time I use skyrocket, people will view it. I don't know why. It could be anything, but if it has skyrocket in it, people did it. So it was like one of those things that the more you did it, the more I could figure out, okay, this is what was working, this is what was working, and then trying to repeat that and just constantly recycle the same themes to create different pieces of content.
Okay. And for like people who aren't familiar, can you talk a little bit like what exactly you're making?
Yeah, so a lot of what I make is right now is sports betting content. So like my original stuff up until recently was fantasy football content, which was all about predictions and research. So I would watch, just try to figure out why player X. So like for someone like Patrick Mahomes, probably the most popular quarterback in the NFL, my job was trying to figure out why Patrick Mahomes would be really good or not good. So I'd be like, say something like, Patrick Mahomes is going to skyrocket this year. Yeah. You're immediately like, interesting. And then I list the reasons why and trying to figure out what like attracted people. So then every day I was trying to use different players like Patrick Mahomes or other running backs or wide receivers, and they're going to skyrocket or break out, or use these power words that immediately make people interested in, and then trying to take those and like give predictions about what I did. So part of it was the hook, like using those words like skyrocket, but then the other part was trying to give people like data and research. So what I do now is more the sports betting side, which is really similar, where I'm just trying to convince people to like place a bet on something.
Yep.
So I'm saying that I think Patrick Mahomes is going to throw for 3 touchdowns on Sunday. Here's why. Here's why you should be taking that bet and putting your money on it.
Okay.
And I'm saying I think that Patrick Mahomes is going to skyrocket against this defense because this defense does really bad versus quarterbacks in away games.
Okay.
They're really bad, like in away games, for example, or Patrick Mahomes, when playing at nighttime in away games, generally plays really like a lot better than normal. So it's very similar where I'm taking like a piece of content, which is like a bet that I really like, that I think people should put money on, and then I'm trying to use power words to convince them on why they should take it. Whether they take it or not doesn't matter, but I'm trying to find ways for people to view my content, because that's how I can gain a following, is getting people to trust like what I'm selling. Okay. So I'm making them interested with the power words, but then I'm giving them the research and like the reasons why I want people to be placing something. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
That makes sense.
It's also interesting because your fantasy football is a really interesting business to be in, because people are so obsessed, protective, and they trust the people they trust, and it's really saturated too, right? I'm assuming, where you just see people left and right who are an expert in it.
Yeah. There's so many people.
How are you getting their attention?
Yeah, so I mean, a lot of the things that like for getting people's attention, it's hard. Like I mentioned, like you have to like use those power words, and you have to use these different things to get people to listen. Like you have to use big words, and you have to use like dominate or breakout or explode, or this guy is about to destroy, like different words like that. So when you see those words, you're more likely to read. That's how I get the people in. But then like to get people's attention consistently, like the way that I'm building an audience is by like controlling like what I can control. I can't control what bets you take. I can't control whether you're going to read my content, but the things that I can control are like the time. So like every day, 7 days a week, I don't miss a day. I'm posting every morning. You'll see a tweet from me at 10 a.m. You're going to see a tweet from me at 10:30, 11. So like 7 days a week, 365 days a year, you know that you're going to get content from me at 10 a.m., 10:30, 11, 11:30, all the way until like 4 or 5 p.m. So like what I mean by that is like I learned how I can control like the things that I can't control, as in like I can't control whether they listen, but I can control that they know they're going to get content from me at this time. They know that there's going to be a certain format where people like the pictures that I use in my tweets or my posts, for example. So they know they're going to get a picture, they know they're going to get content, they know it's going to be coming at a certain time, and they know it's going to look a certain way that they're used to. So like those were the things that regardless of my audience or who had seen my content before, is I can control. So learning how to control those variables that like no one else can affect is just the things that only like, no matter a big amount of viewers or small, I'm in control of like those things, and the rest of it has to happen on its own. Okay.
Wow.
And if you can get them to do something that you say once and it works and they're in.
But it's one of those things like what do you like when you guys go to bed, when you get up in the morning, the first thing you check is your phone.
Yes.
So if you saw my tweet at 10 a.m., you're more likely to be on Twitter at 10 a.m. the next day.
Okay.
So if you're on Twitter every single day at 10 a.m., I'm going to start coming across your feed every single day at 10 a.m.
Right.
So then by day 3 or 4, you're going to start remembering that I know Alex is going to post because I've seen him 3 or 4 days in a row. So if I can do that for one person, they're more likely to follow or like and engage than other people that are also there at 10 a.m. start to do it. But the other part is like if someone gets on at 10:30 and they see my post 30 minutes ago, and every day they miss it by 30 minutes, they're more likely to get on and tune in at 10 because they know exactly when my content's coming, and they know that it's going to be readable, digestible, they know it's going to have pictures in some way to hook them. So every day it's just like I become a part of people's routines because I'm going to be consistent.
Okay. Yeah.
So you never have to worry, like it's like going to school, like you know every day that you have to be at school at 7:30. So you know every single day you're going to get my thing at 7:30. So when other people miss it, that's where I get an advantage on people, because like I can't control my following. I can't control how many followers I have. What I can control is like the timing of it. So that like if someone else is bigger than I am, if they miss a day, you're more likely to see me.
Right.
So it's like every day, like it's one of those things where like I'm gonna wear you out because like I'm not missing a day, I'm not missing a post. You know what I mean? Like like one of my favorite stories is about like people that played against Carmelo Anthony, the basketball player. Yeah. And whether he wasn't dominant, like one of the things that people always talked about was physicality. So that whether he scored 100 points or he scored 0, you're gonna feel it every single day, and like the physicality of it. And like I'm tweeting, you know what I mean? Like that's not physical, but in terms of other creators, is like whether you're someone that's a viewer of a content or you're someone that's creating content, like you're going to feel me every single day because you know that post is coming out at 10 a.m. or 10:30. And the second you have a doctor's appointment or you miss a day, I'm posting at that time and I'm not going to miss it. And that's where I'm gaining an advantage on people. So every single day, like my consistency is the biggest part of the business because like I don't miss a day, I don't miss a post, I don't miss an hour. So the second you slip up or you wake up late, like that's when I'm gaining an advantage. And when you do that every single day for a whole year, you gain a really big advantage on every person that misses or slips up.
It's like that one Kobe story when he was like, Kobe would wake up at 4 a.m. and go to practice, and then he'd come home and he'd go to practice like 8 a.m. and then he'd come home and go to practice like 12 p.m. and then he would just practice like double as much as other people just because he started his day earlier. That's a crazy mindset to have. So how did you really like formulate that mindset of just like doing it every single day and like just being as consistent as you are?
I mean, it didn't happen like every day. Like I used to miss posts all the time when I first started. But I think one of the things that it became is I think that where it got real was like when I had a year left in college and it was like, you know, you sit down with your parents and like, what's your plan? You had a year, you know, like, so are you going to get a real job or are you going to try to do this? And at the time I had 7,000 followers, but I had a year. So it was like, all right, I got a year. Like, what is it? Like, what do I want to do? And it's like one of those things you have to ask yourself is like, is this what you want to do? So like when I decided, I was like, this is what I want to do. The second I had that first viral thread that I talked about where I gained 3,000, I was like, I have to do that again. Because if I don't do that tomorrow, like I might lose that chance at being full-time. So it became one of those things where like, yes, it is Twitter, it's social media, I get it. But like for me, it was like, that's my job.
Yeah.
Like my job's on the line every single day. Wow. And if I miss a day tomorrow and you post, I just lost an edge on you. So it was like, if I want to chase my job and I want to chase my dream, these are the things that I can control to create an edge on people. I was not the best content creator. I wasn't the best public speaker. I wasn't great on camera, but like the things I could control was like the timing, the knowing you're going to post and like the willingness to learn. So it was more one of those things that my mindset changed when it became like my back was up against the wall and it was like, I got to fight for this. Or else I'm going to be working a job for the rest of my life that I'm going to wish I just took this chance.
Absolutely.
But that's how I feel right now. Is like, it doesn't matter like where I am. I'm doing it full time right now. But if I stop posting and I start going to my doctor's appointments and missing posts, like I'm going to lose that. I could lose my job. So it's like every day is like it's like a proverbial like fight for survival. And it's just like, what do you want? Like, it's like the same thing. It's like, yes, there's professional basketball players, professional athletes. I'm not one of those people, but like, there's not many people that can do this type of content full time and make a full time living. So if I want to do it, I have to do things that other people aren't willing to do. So every day is like, you're constantly fighting that challenge. Is like, are you willing to do what no one else will do? And like, my mindset is just like, I guarantee you there's no one that's willing to sacrifice more than I will. Like, I'll give up everything for this. Like, I will give whatever it is going to take to be great at my job. Yes. And, like, the rest can come later. Like, my family's going to be there. My friends are going to be there. Like, those things have time. But, like, when it comes to my job, that's my dream. You know what I mean? And no one's going to take that away from me.
That's insane.
And you kind of talk about being, like, a content creator, but it's almost more like your own news outlet where you can be a content creator and you can, like, come out with something here and there and people can still follow it. But you got to be there every day. You got to report on every story, and if you miss something, you lose all the credibility. It all goes down the drain, right?
Yeah, that's the crazy part about it that people won't ever realize. Like, yes, I'm a content creator. Like, they see the tweets or they see, like, whatever I'm posting. But the other thing that a lot of people won't realize, because, like, you are owning a business. Like, I have, like, one employee. Like, I have a video editor that, like, edits a couple of my videos. Okay. Otherwise, like, I'm my own lawyer. I'm the contract guy. Yeah. I'm the finance guy for what I'm doing. I'm the copy editor. I'm the writing editor. Like, I'm the content creator. I'm the script writer. Like, you wear so many different hats, like, at all times, which is exhausting. But, like, it's the same thing as, like, the sacrifice that you got to make. Like, if I want to do this full time, I got to be the finance guy. I got to be the contract guy. I got to be the business guy. I got to be the marketing guy. Like, so it's awesome because I don't have to worry about anyone else. Like, which is really, I don't have to rely on anyone. If anyone slacks off, not my problem because, like, it's just me. If I slack off, I'm the only one I got to worry about.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think eventually there are things that I'm going to have to like hire out for and worry about other people so I can open up more time for certain things. But the beauty of it obviously is just that like I can control like what I can control, and it's up to me to like wear all these hats and create that type of content. But like you said, is like if I miss something, that's a big deal. But that's like where there's an opportunity to grow, because a lot of people don't have the kind of money to hire video editors and social media people. So a lot of people are just doing this individually. So if I'm willing to give up like more time and more energy to this and like watch less TV and do more of this, then like that's where you can start to like gain an advantage and gain a following. Because like I said, and like I think the thing that people never realize, like I was horrible on camera. I'm still not great. I'm still not even the best writer. But it's just like one of those things that like I can control the time, I can control the consistency, and I control the amount of work that like I'm willing to put in. Like, you know, like I was telling you today, like I work like 6.5 days a week.
Basically.
Wow.
You know, it's like 12-hour days, 6 days a week. And on Tuesdays, like at like 2 p.m. I try to put my phone down for the day. Otherwise, every other day, like I'm working. But like one of the interesting things about it though is like a lot of people like that work normal like 9 to 5 jobs, you expect a weekend, right? So like when you're on Wednesday and you're tired, okay, well I know Friday's coming, and after Friday's coming, like I'm gonna do it. So it's almost like with this kind of job is like you have to like train your mind or your body to understand there aren't breaks. So it almost like has helped that I don't have weekends, because I'm not used to like having time off.
That makes sense.
So it almost becomes like like the routine I was talking about with getting people to watch my videos every day is like, I'm just used to it. You know what I mean? I don't think I'm any special, and I'm not Kobe, but it's just like this is like my normal life. There's lots of people out there. Like I'm not the only person that works 7 days a week.
No.
But the people that do is like, how do you do it? Well,
it's like
that's my job.
Just do it.
Exactly. That's my job.
I
don't have a choice in this, and I think that's like been the nice part about it is like taking less days off helps, because it just kind of becomes like what your life is every single day, and there's no more like I have to figure it out, because like that's just what you do. That's just what you do. You don't know anything else.
Exactly. We say the exact same thing. That's what we do. We both go to school. We both work our own jobs, and then we do this. And if it's Friday night at 9 o'clock, we're gonna film an episode. Then that's when we're going to do it, because the work has to get done. You know, you don't show up, you don't talk to your boss, you get your work done, or you don't get paid, or nothing happens.
Exactly. But it's like one of those priorities, like how bad do you want it.
Exactly.
But the things you can control is like how many, you guys right now, like 9 p.m. on a Friday night, how many other people are willing to record a podcast at 9 p.m. on Friday night, set up equipment, get cameras ready when they could be going out or doing something fun that they feel is more productive? Like how many people are willing to do that? But those are like the variables that you can control to give yourself an edge over every other person that's not recording a podcast at 9 p.m.
Interesting.
100%.
So, question. Obviously, yes, you're doing fantasy football on like all that content. So, like, what do you do on like the off season when like when football isn't on? Because like that's got to be like much slower time for you, right?
Yeah, it's really interesting you ask, and that's so like I mentioned that. So like I graduated. This is 6 months this month. So like it was like now I don't have school, because before it was just like when football was done, okay, then I could just focus a little bit more on school. But now it was like, okay, I have a business. You know what I mean? Like I can't, in business you don't take like 3 or 4 months off. You can't stop. So like a month ago, right before the NBA started, I decided like I'm gonna learn how to do NBA betting.
Okay.
Because I follow the NBA, but I didn't know it really well. But I was like, this is content that when February hits and the Super Bowl's done, I'll already have something ready. Because like if football ended and then I started basketball, it doesn't matter, because no one has seen me on basketball. But right now I have so many eyes that are watching my football stuff that when I started posting basketball, they were going to see it because they're already looking for my football. Does that make sense? So like rather than trying to audition after football season and trying to build it, now I'm forcing you to do it. Because if you want to watch my NFL stuff, you're going to see my NBA. Whether you like it or not, you're going to see it. But it was like, how can I make really good NBA stuff so that when football ends, people are already familiar with it, they're used to it, and I can jump off that. And then when basketball ends, I don't know a lot about baseball, but like that's going to be baseball season before football. So I'm going to have to learn baseball so that I can have something constantly year round for that consistency, where we talked about like, other people might take those 2 months off for baseball season because they don't like baseball. That's their time off. They worked really hard. That's fine. I'm going to be working. I'm going to learn something else. Like whether it's video editing or baseball or something, like I'm going to learn some other type of content or some other way to be productive when you're taking time off. Enjoy your vacation, you know, because that's like the 7 days that I'm going to be getting an edge on you every single day.
That's crazy.
Exactly.
That's actually insane that you like, I never really thought about it like that because like I thought your thing was like just fantasy football. So like now that I'm understanding that you're getting more into basketball, which is something that I know a little bit more about. I don't really know much about baseball, but like it's crazy that like one thing ends and you're just already right back on the other. Like not a lot of people can do that at all.
Yeah, it's not easy, but I wasn't good at it. Mm-hmm. I'm still not good at basketball stuff. Like I've been doing it for a month, but I'm trying. It's like one of those things, the consistency, the trying to learn, like all those things that are like, a lot of those things that's really interesting about doing basketball versus football. I didn't realize, like at first basketball made no sense, but the more you do it, you can see the parallels with football. Like, okay, like I see this for like this works for football for me. How can I make this work in basketball? It's the same way that we talked about, like if one type of content or one video does really well, how do you replicate that? So if I make a really good football video, how can I make that exact same viral video with basketball on it?
Yeah.
So it's the same thing with like the content I do for basketball is like, okay, this is what works for me in football. How can I do this exact same thing, but with basketball on it? And when baseball comes, it's going to be like, okay, this worked for football or this worked for basketball. How can I put a baseball on it and make it look the same and make it look interesting and entertaining for people? But I think that's like the beauty of it that I'm excited for when basketball or football are both not on and there's like the baseball time, because like that's my time to rest a little bit. Like, you know, you will need a little bit of a rest, but that's the time to like learn of like when you're doing content every day and you don't have a choice, like I'm going to have more time to be like, okay, how can I be a better video editor? How can I be better at business? Or how can I take classes to be better at writing copy, to make better tweets or write better so people can understand it? So like those are the times when there is downtime to be able to learn other skills that I wouldn't have time to learn when you have a double day and you have a full NFL slate of games and NBA and you have to be doing like 2 sports all day at once. So in the days when there's 0, like that can be the time to be able to learn something else.
Okay. I have a question for like the both of you guys. How do you guys like kind of deal with kind of like that burnout aspect? Because like both of you guys work ridiculous hours. I'm not saying I don't, but like Alex is always working. Alex will go to class and then go to a photo shoot and he'll be editing the photos and then go to another photo shoot and he'll be like, he just does like 12 different things in a day. Same thing that you do. So like, how do you deal with like kind of not burning out and just kind of pushing yourself to keep going?
I'll go first.
You go first.
This is interesting because it's going to be a little different from Alex. I do different things, which is the one thing I'm grateful for, is I get to work on the brand where I could be designing something, or I could be packing orders, or I could be editing photos, I could be on a photo shoot, I could be shooting a video, traveling. It's all very different things, so that kind of helps with burnout. But I mean, it happens, especially when we're working on social content and stuff. That's one thing that I don't at all like to do. So if we have to sit and just make posts for Instagram and stuff, that gets tough to do. And it's, I don't know, I take breaks and just move on to something else until I'm ready to come back to it. But is it different for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's similar for sure. I think that like when I talk to you, like you wear different hats. So, you know, there's the editing, there's the content, there's the marketing, the business. So like my day like shifts a lot. Like, yes, it is the grand scheme of it. Like it is all about like the betting stuff, but like it's refreshing because I'm always doing something different, where I'm jumping in one meeting that's business, the next meeting is content, the one after that is like someone that's really good at marketing. So like every day is so different. But I think the other part with the burnout stuff is like I just love what I do. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
There's a part of it where like a lot of people like sports betting. A lot of people that listen to probably sports bet before. Like if I wasn't sports betting, I'd be doing research on sports betting and how I can still place bets. You know what I mean? Like I've just found ways to like convert what my free time would be and then to like make content about it or things like that. But as far as burnout goes, it happens. Like I felt it. And I think like one of the things I do is like I work as hard as I can, and then when I know like I'm at the breaking point, okay, how can I take like half a day off and just do it? And then I try to like put my phone in a drawer or as far away as possible and just like stay away from it as long as I can. And then like when the next day happens, like gotta reset and go. But when those days happen, just try to take the rest of the day, just stay away from it. But then the next day you gotta lock back in and kind of do what you do. but there has to be some kind of break. It's not as
it's not
nonstop every single day and never stop as people would like.
100%. Yeah. It's the same thing for me. I love all of it the same way that you love, and I like getting to do all the different things, and I think that's what kind of keeps it. You stay refreshed with it, and you're never getting too sick of it. When I take a break though, I'll put away my phone and then I can work on something else that's more fun. So if it's like designing something, or I've had an idea and I just don't have time to sit down and do something by hand, and it's a whole different thing. But I'm sure it's also tough because you're directly tied to social media, which is the thing that's the first to go. First thing to go for me, where I'll get sick of that in an hour a day.
Yeah. Well, how do you do it where like you're dealing with how much of it plays into like the dream aspect of it, like where you're like working all the time, you're not getting paid for everything that you're doing
absolutely
right now.
No.
So if you're not making the money, like how do you stay motivated to keep doing what you're doing if you're not getting paid for it?
I make stuff that I like. I don't like social media. I don't like connecting things that I like to do. So whether it's making videos, taking photos, I don't like connecting that to a number of likes or anything. I have likes turned off on my Instagram for other people to see and for myself. So I don't see any numbers on my page, which is super cool. But like that sort of thing is just, it doesn't work if you constantly connect it. So when I'm trying to get out of that, it's like, okay, I'm just going to go for a walk with my camera and take pictures. It's the most basic thing that I did 5 or 10 years ago for fun, but like that's just, you got to come back to something you like to do.
Yeah. I think another big part of it is like, I think having people to lean on has been one of the biggest things, is because like, you know, like these kind of things are, when you're working every day, like it is stressful, and at the end of the day, it's exhausting. Like I think that a lot of people think, okay, we sit at a desk all day, you post on TikTok, like cool, but like it's a grind to have to be in the zone and really making something people are going to enjoy. Because like the bigger it gets, the more people are going to rip you apart for every single thing that you do. Yeah. Which is like motivating to like prove people wrong. But I think having like people that support me and know that no matter how bad my content was that day or how bad the bets did, like they're still going to look at me the same way. And it's refreshing to have the people that you know are always going to rock with you, and having that kind of circle of people is really motivating. The other thing that is like the biggest thing that I never realized was so important is like having a circle of people around you that have like similar goals or in similar spots, or people that are always bigger. Like I always surround myself with the people I talk to every day, like make more money than me or more successful. Like I always try to make like whoever I'm talking to for the most part are smarter than me at something, are better at me than something, and people that I can constantly learn from. So like, I don't ever want to be like the best social media person in a row. I want to be the worst one in every single room I walk into. No matter how many, if I had 1 million followers, which I don't, I'd want to be only in a room with people that have 5 million and 10 million, because I want to learn from them. So that like having those people is very motivating, because it's always someone to go after. So like, yes, like I do this full time. There's a lot of people that don't do it full time that wish they could, but like the people that I'm trying to like surround myself with, connect with, and have conversations with are the people that don't just do it full time. They make a ridiculous amount of money doing it full time. But if I got that and they make a ridiculous amount of money, I'd want to surround myself with the people that make ridiculous amount of money without having to do the content, without trying. So it's just like constantly trying to level up like the people that I'm around, so that I'm always learning every day from some people, and I'm never like one of the people that are like know the most, and I'm always trying to find people that know a lot more than I do about everything. Because like I don't mind helping people and teaching, but I want to learn. Yeah, like that's all I want to do is just like learn and be a sponge and soak it up. Like I don't ever want to be like this where I'm the person that's talking the most in a conversation. Like I just want to shut up and learn in 90% of what I do.
I like that a lot, because I think I learned a lot of that from you, from like that Vegas trip, of just like I really admired the way that you talked to people, because like more so than anything else, you would just walk up to somebody, not know them, and say like, "Hi, I'm Alex. What do you do?" And then you would just kind of ask them every single thing, and it was the exact same questions every single time. It was like, "What do you do? How did you get started? What is something that you wish you knew when you were 21?" And then it was, "What's like your one piece of advice that you want to give to me?" And then it was the same thing every single time. And I think you really are like a walking like sponge of all of that information just combined, because every single person that we talked to when we were over there said something different, but then every single person said something different, but then like they had like the similar concept, And like we just learned so much from that entire thing. And I think I learned a lot of just like how to talk to people, how to just like literally walk up to people and say, hey, I'm Alex. This is what I do. What do you do? I never really knew that before then. That was one of the biggest things I've ever learned.
Yeah, and it kind of goes back to what we talked about with like when you first make a video that goes viral, when you first have a conversation where you learn something, that like I ended up asking the same question like 20 times because like I found good answers. Yeah. The same thing with a video. That video worked. Well, how can I ask that same question or make that same video 20 different times with different people in the room? But I think like you said, like we were around a lot of people that were really successful and made way more money than we did and like were like doing really well. So like why not try to find like what makes people successful, like what makes them tick, and like what do they wish they knew before they were successful. You know what I mean? Because a lot of people they didn't have that money or that job at 21 at the time when we were out there. So like what do you like if you go back to 21, what would you tell yourself? You know what I mean? Like, even now, like if you go back to 17, what would you tell yourself now that you've been a business owner for a couple of years? Or even for me now, I'd be like, okay, if I could go back 3 years for the first day that I started making content, what would I tell myself? And like hearing that from other people, like the perspective of like someone that's already been there and done that is always so interesting to hear.
Yeah, going back into your like story progression a little bit, how did you turn from like just making it to making it as a business? If you don't mind like talking.
Yeah, of course.
Get into as much detail as you want.
Yeah, so the biggest thing was like, so this is really interesting. I started on fantasy football,
right?
And like when you're in school, like, and I was working a couple jobs plus school, but like I didn't have to make full-time money because I was in school. You know what I mean? There's always like you have a degree or whatever it is going on. But like the second I graduated, like this past year, I was like, okay, like how can I scale my business?
Yes.
Because like when I was doing the fantasy football stuff, I graduated. I was like stressing. I was like, I hope I can make like $50,000 this year. Like that would make me enough that I can grow my bank account a little bit, but I can still like pay off my living expenses because Boston's not cheap. But then it became, I was like, wait, like I'm already putting in all this time. Like what can I apply to what I do in content that would like make me more money for like scaling it?
Okay.
And then I was like, how do I make money? And I make a lot of my money through like these affiliate deals and getting people to sign up for like different apps, or whether it's betting or a new app or someone has a really good idea. Like I make money through getting people like you to just sign up or like try something out.
Okay.
So it became figuring out, okay, like which ones pay the most? And once you figured out those are like these like betting apps, it was like, okay, how can I get good at this kind of content to get people to sign up for these expensive things? So it was all about scaling. And like, how can I take my fantasy content and get paid even more from it? And that was like the betting side, where we're still talking about NFL players. We're still talking about Patrick Mahomes, but that's going to make me more money because it's a different angle of talking about Patrick Mahomes. Because that was when it was like, I'm full time now. You know what I mean? It's my job to like make more money. So how can I figure out to do it? And it was like, see, I saw this video on TikTok and it was this guy that was just like, so like, how do you grow a business? He's like, it's 3 words. Scale, scale, and scale. Whatever you do it, how can you do it bigger and better? And once you do it bigger and better, how can you do it another bigger and better? And then when you do it bigger and better again, like how can you continue to increase it?
Right.
So like before I was like, okay, how can I do it full time? I figured out that. Okay, now how can I make a lot more money doing it full time? We're trying to do that right now. But once like I can make a lot more money doing that, it's going to be like, how can I make even more and build this even more so I'm in a safer position and I'm making more money when I'm sleeping and I'm not making only dollars when I'm working.
Right.
So it's just like constantly trying to scale what I'm doing. And that's where I got the idea of doing the sports betting stuff, because it's already similar to what I'm doing. It's just doing the same type of content and I'm finding a way to get paid a little bit more than I was for it.
Wow.
Okay.
Interesting.
And I think that's where we are now. It's like, okay, like now that we're scaling up, how can I grow an audience and how can I figure out how to do it? You know what I mean? So at first it was like, how can I figure out how to do sports betting content? I'm figuring it out. Now it's how can I make money doing it? Okay, I figured out how to do that. Now how can I make a lot of money and get a lot of people to sign up for these different apps at the same time? So it's just constantly trying to figure out how to do one thing. Once you did that, how can we do it again? So it's like, for example, like I made, $5,000 in a month. Okay, I made $5,000. How can I do that next month? Now that I know how to make $5,000 in a month, I can do it. So if you make $10,000 the next month, okay, I know the blueprint and I know what it looks like to make $10,000 in a month.
Right.
So how can I do a little bit more than that?
Okay.
And then you get to 20. You know what I mean? Okay, I made 20 in a month. How can I do that again? So like it's like platforms or levels or like once you figure out how to do it full time, okay, how can I keep doing that but take it a little step higher? Wow. And it's just constantly that like once I've already done it, okay, like how can I repeat that again? It always goes back to the entire thing we talked about the videos. Like it started with like repeating the videos, then it's repeating the stuff to do it full time, then it's repeating how to make money, and then it's repeating those same processes to make even more amount of money, more amount of connections. Like it all kind of goes hand in hand.
Right. So you get paid through affiliate links. So does that look like something where you go in and sign up, or are you in like contract deals with certain companies?
Yes. So it's all like through affiliate deals. Like I'd say like a little over 90% of probably like my income right now is through affiliate deals. Like I work with other companies that I do like other types of content that are more like flat fee, like I get paid.
Okay.
But like most of it is like affiliates, like I have different things that I work with, like I meet with different companies, and if I like their app, then I'll promote it. Because it's something I would use in general. So if I'm like, I really like this app, then I'll promote it. And I get paid through like, I'm getting you to join the same app. I'm like, Alex, like this is cool. And like, I mean, I don't pick things that I don't like. Like I pick apps that I really love and that I use them. I would be using anyway if I wasn't working.
Right.
And then trying to find out how can I convince other people to do it.
Okay.
Wow.
So then it's like, okay, now my job is like, how can I convince people to do it? Because I think this is a really dope app, or there's a reason why they should be using it. And that's kind of where I'm at now, is like, that's where I'm making money, is off these like affiliate things and finding ways to be a better marketer and how to get people to join these apps, but also to give them a reason to, because I genuinely like love the stuff that I'm promoting.
Wow. Okay, interesting. So they're all links, and they'll just click in. And
yeah.
Is it all specifically to join, or so? I guess my question's going to how are you getting people that are already following you to keep making money off of them beyond just that one sign up?
I think it's a trust thing. Like I think that, like, so like for example, like, you know how I mentioned, like we talked, the very first thing we talked about is if you can get one person to like rewatch a video,
right,
they're more likely to rewatch a second video.
Right.
Yeah.
So if I promote like an app that I really like,
yeah,
and you're like, damn, like Alex is right, this is cool.
Okay.
When I promote another one, you're more likely to promote, you're more likely to join that one because you like the first one.
Wow.
So I think I've been specific about like who I'm partnering with and the types of apps that I'm working with, because like if I promote something really cool and they like it, they're more likely to sign up for a second one. Mm-hmm. But the other part of it, like that's side A of like the cassette tape, if you will. Side B is like, I'm trying to like find a way to get as many followers as possible. So like, you know, if I gain, like, let's say I gain 500 people. Mm-hmm. If I post like an affiliate link or something like that, I just need one out of those 500 people to click that link and be willing to do it.
Okay.
Because like every single one of those 500 people that do it, when I get 500 more, if I can get 2 or 3 of those people to sign up, then that's 2 or 3 more people that are more likely to sign up for the second one.
Okay.
Wow.
So you're like building up more people who are willing to like follow you and trust you. Mm-hmm. And then you're building up more and more people that once they trust you, they're more likely to trust you again.
Okay.
So like my whole thing is built based on trust. It's whether it's like an affiliate thing and I'm making money, or it's just a regular piece of content. Like I'm trying to build trust with you, that you like what I'm promoting and you can trust that like I made a good video or I made a good tweet or a piece of content. Because just like the money side of it, if they are watching a video, they're more likely to watch video too. If they're clicking an affiliate link, they're more likely to click affiliate link too.
So going back to like, how did you really get started in football? Like, were you just really interested in it as a kid? Did you ever play it?
No, I honestly, like, I never played football, like organized football, like growing up.
Okay.
But I just like, I grew up every Sunday watching football like with my dad. So it was just like always like, I love it. I was knowledgeable about it, but it was one of those things that like, I was spending like hours a day already looking at like fantasy football stuff, like before I was doing content.
Yeah.
So it's like, if I'm already spending like 3 or 4 hours a day looking at this, like literally because I was addicted, why don't I try like making a video about it and just sharing what I know? Because I was like, I'm pretty knowledgeable because I spend more time than anybody else on this. So like, why not share those things? So it was always like, I love football, like football is dope. So like, why not share about it? Same thing with basketball. Like I follow basketball, I read basketball stuff every day, even if I wasn't doing content about it. But it was like, I consume so much of it. Like, why not just like share like what I'm learning and trying to give people good information on it in general. So it was always just like the origins of the sports stuff is like, that's what I grew up on. That's what I like doing. And I just found that as I got older, I was probably spending way too much time. Like my free time was spent already learning those things. So it was like, why can't I take that time I'm already learning about it and just like transition to something that could potentially make me money someday while doing it?
I think that's like a really good thing that I think a lot of people don't understand is like, we live in a society where like no matter what you like, there's a way to monetize it. You know what I mean? Like
absolutely.
Like fantasy football or like sports betting, things like that. If you like that, there's a way to monetize it beyond just you doing something to make money. If you make other people money, they'll want to pay you. You know what I mean? So it's like going back to like how we got started in clothing is like, I've always liked fashion. You know, like I've always been into it, but I was spending money on it, but not making money off of it. Now I'm at a point where it's like, I'm not really spending money on it, but people like the things that I make, people like the things that Alex makes. So now we're like making money off of it more so than spending money on it, which I think that's like been like a very big thing that I think a lot of people don't understand is like, no matter what you do, there's like a way to monetize it so you make money off it, so then you just like what you do.
Yeah, like have you seen Biking DC? You know who that is?
No.
Ever seen him? It's ridiculous. You just talked about like the things of like when you like what you do, you can just like make stuff about it.
Mm-hmm.
There's a guy in Washington DC that does Uber deliveries on a bike.
Oh,
literally on a bike.
Yeah.
But like, so all he does is just attach a GoPro and does his job every day, and he has like millions of followers of people that just like watch like his bike deliveries. But he loves doing like the Uber Eats stuff, and he loves like riding a bike every day, so like you can make content about it.
Exactly.
There's also a guy that works at like a Papa John's, like a pizza place, and all he does is just set up a camera and shows like what his day to day looks like at Papa John's, and like making pizzas and like some of the crazy like orders that they get, and making videos of like the craziest things people order.
Yeah.
Like the same stories you tell your friends like when you get off work, like they're just like kind of recording what they're doing in their lives, and people are so fascinated by jobs that they wouldn't normally do. Like I never worked in a pizza place, but here I am watching his video because like someone ordered like a, you know, like a bacon spinach like apple pizza or something like that. Right. He's like making it, you know what I mean? It's weird, but like it's one of those things where like you talked about is like if you're interested in it and if he loves like making those pizzas and those crazy orders, like you just throw a camera in front of it and like people will watch just because like you enjoy it and it's something that you wouldn't do. Like I've never been an Uber driver, but I'm watching because like I'm fascinated by people that are like on a bike doing Uber deliveries and the kind of crazy stuff that people deal with. That not only that job, but like any job you'll ever do, there's chaos that you'll deal with that other people have never seen before.
Interesting. That's a really good point. Maybe we need to start just wearing GoPros on our chest.
GoPros every day.
Documenting our entire day.
But I mean, like what you do photography stuff. Like, beyond
people
this,
do that
like
too.
If you just like attach like a GoPro to your chest, that like here's like what a photography shoot looks like.
Yeah, people like that too.
Yeah, because like I'd be fascinated to watch stuff like that and what goes into it.
Yeah, exactly.
And just like it doesn't have to be every single second of it, but if you can find like a 1 hour photo shoot and you turn that into the most interesting 60 seconds of an entire hour.
Yeah.
I think people would be fascinated by what you do at your job. And like you talked about, you don't like the social media stuff, but like when you go home and you tell your parents or your friends about what you do because you love it, like you're just sharing that with people of like what you already love doing. That's my job.
Yeah.
I like fantasy football. I like the sports betting stuff. I'm literally doing the exact same thing where I'm just like sharing the stuff that I'm learning of something I'd already be doing anyway.
Yes.
Wow.
Before you even get paid for it. Like the same thing with the video stuff is like I'm taking like hours of research on basketball stuff or football stuff, and I'm turning it into like a 10 or 15 second viewable portion of like my hours of research. Mm-hmm. But again, like what you do is like if you get the most 15 interesting seconds, like people are willing to tune in because they're curious.
Exactly.
Interesting. I think that's why like vlogs do so good. And like,
stuff like people like.
It's like day in the life.
Yeah, because it's different. Because it's like things that you are interested in or things that you see yourself doing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like people tune into sports betting content because like everyone thinks they're smarter than everybody else. So like you're either gonna tune into my stuff because you hate it and you think that I'm the dumbest person alive and you want to laugh at me and be like, this is the worst like betting pick I've ever seen, or you're like, okay, like this stuff's really cool, I'm gonna place money on it, or even like option C, which is probably very few amount of people that are like, oh, this is cool, I think I can do this. So you're watching because you're like, I love stuff like that. Like, I know you watch fashion stuff beyond this because you're interested in people that do similar things to what you do, or want to do someday. So you're getting inspiration from those people. So like all those things can be do at once, whether you're doing clothing, whether you're doing sports betting, whether you're doing photography or podcasts. Like you can make a production video about like what goes into making a podcast and people would watch, because most people have wanted to make a podcast before.
Absolutely.
Interesting.
So like, why wouldn't you watch a video of like, oh, this is how we did our first podcast ever?
Mm-hmm.
Other people want to start a podcast. They'd love to know what it's like what it's first like. You make a cool, dope video about like, this is our first time doing it, or this is what goes into it. Like, why wouldn't people watch?
Right. And they can tell too if it's something you do for free.
Yeah.
And like I did a lot of my work for free. I still do work for free, but I also do really big stuff. And it's the same thing for you. You did work for free, and the stuff you're doing now, you still do for free.
But if you did like that, you spend an hour and a half like setting this up, recording it, everything else, and you can turn that into 30 most interesting seconds of 2 hours. Why wouldn't people watch that?
Exactly.
That's a really good point. Yeah. So going back to like you said how like there's a lot of people that will say like they don't like your content and stuff like that. How do you deal with haters and like stuff like that on like a much bigger platform?
I used to have a hard time with it. I mean, I think I've always had like thick skin. Not a lot of things bother me, but I think sometimes like it would hurt like when I put a lot of time into something and someone didn't like it. Like I remember like the first cause I was like all this stuff was brand new to me.
Yeah.
The first time I used to see like these really like cool edits and like the crazy like music and stuff like that. I made a video for the first time. I spent like 3 hours making it. It got like no views, and a couple people were like, "This sucks." like this is like the worst video I've ever seen. In my head, I was like, this is my first time doing it. I spent 3 hours, and like here I am getting no views, and people are telling me it's horrible. But like it became like a couple different things at the same time with the hate stuff. Is like, one, it's like motivation.
Sure.
It's reason to do better. It's not like that person might never like see what you're doing again, but in your mind, like if you think they are, you're almost like trying to prove people wrong every single day. I think the other part of it is like, it's also just good for engagement. Like the more people that hate me at this point, the better. Yeah. I love people that hate me at this point because it means I'm doing something right. Like if like, think of someone like right now, like Mark Cuban on Shark Tank. He's a billionaire. If he came across my content, is he gonna hate on it? No. He doesn't have time to.
Yeah.
So like it became like, okay, the people that are hating on this are the people that literally have time to hate on it.
Yeah.
So the people's opinions I care about are the people that don't have time to look at my stuff because like they're too busy or they're too successful. Like if you're hating on my content, you clearly have too much time on your hands.
We were just talking about where'd that come up? Maybe I just saw it, but it was the thing. It's people only hate up. They don't hate down.
Yeah, but I think the biggest thing is it's been motivation because like yeah, I do it full time now, but like there was like 6 months ago or so, like I had a meeting with somebody. I'm not gonna name names. And it was someone I was like excited to meet with that I thought I was going to learn a lot from. And like the first thing he said to me, he's like, I know you've been working hard for the last couple of years, but he's like, you are really bad at some of the things you do. And this is like someone I was like excited to meet, like excited to like spend a little bit of time with. And he's like, yeah, like, you're just not very good. And this is the point where like I worked for like 3 years, like 3 jobs all through school plus full-time school, and I'm doing this full-time. The first time I meet someone, he's like, you are really bad at some of the stuff you do. He's like, don't get me wrong. He's like, I think you can be really good at it.
Yeah.
But like, you're not there yet. And like, he was right in some parts of it because there's things that I can improve on. But then that's one thing that even right now, like that's like what I lean into when I'm burning out and I'm tired is I think about that same person that said that to me that was like you're not good enough yet. Yeah. And like that like fires me up like every single day. Or there was somebody that I met with, this is like a year ago now, and someone that like was a good friend of mine, and was like, we were on a call, like a 3-way call with someone else that we were both meeting for the first time. And he's like, you know, like I took Alex under my wing, like cause I was like behind him in followers, and like he's like, I took Alex under my wing. And in my head I was like, did you really just say that? Take me under your wing? Are you kidding me? No, you didn't. Like, yes, I'm learning from you, but like, no. Don't say you're taking me under your wing. Yeah. But then like, I eventually passed this person in followers and I got ahead. But I still think about that every day. Like you, I'm sorry for cursing on this, but like you took me under your wing, motherfucker. Well, like the same thing we talked about with like the Carmelo thing earlier. Like you're gonna feel me every single day. Yeah. So for that person that said they took me under their wing, when he's going to a doctor's appointment, I'm working. You know what I mean? Like when he's going to a birthday party or he's doing something else, like I have content coming out. I'm like working harder because like those are the things that like you start to hold on to like with those kind of things, because you have to find ways to stay motivated. And those people that were like, you're not good enough yet, or like you took me under my wing, like get ready. You know what I mean? Because like I'm not the kind of person you want to place a bet against, and like that's my mindset. Like I know what people could be watching this and be like, oh, this like look at this asshole, like he thinks he's all that, but like that's fine. Like you can think whatever you want, but I'm still gonna work hard. And that's part of the last thing I want to transition with is like you talked about how do you deal with the hate. I work hard.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? If you're gonna hate, like if I spend all that time now, I'm good with it. As long as I'm happy with the content and like I'll get upset at the stuff that like I could have done that better. That's fine. That's what I'll get upset about. But like I don't get upset anymore. But like I put the work in and like it just didn't work. That's fine. But like I'm coming back the next day and we're gonna keep pushing. And like that's you know what you build the whole brand on is like I'm just willing to give up more. I'm willing to work harder, and like at the end of the day that's gonna win out. So I don't care about the hate stuff because like I know what I'm about and I know what I'm gonna do.
So what's next? What's the next level?
That's a good question. I think like at this point the next step is like just continuing to do like what I built my success on.
Okay.
Because like it's all just going to be at a different scale or like a different platform like we were talking about.
Okay.
Where like I don't know if it's going to be sports betting, I could be writing books, like I could be, you know, selling insurance. But like the thing that got me here is just like that hard work and the attitude of just like no one's gonna like give up more than I will and no one's gonna work harder than me. So I think like with the stuff I'm doing now, like the NBA or the betting content, like my philosophy is just to continue to outwork everybody and find joy when people miss an hour or they miss a day or they miss a type of piece of content. Like I might be psycho for thinking like that, but I think like I just like am in love when people like miss a day or they miss an hour or I get something done earlier or I do it better than somebody else. And like, I think what's next is just continuing to like lean on those things and just continue to keep that same attitude that like, whether I had 10 followers right now or 10 million, my attitude is going to be the same and it's never going to stop. So it's the same thing that no matter how big I get, again, the whole doctor's like, so I can take a doctor's point, I'm going to keep getting an edge and just like coming for everybody that's above me and continuing to surround people that are more successful than I am so I can keep finding people to chase. Like a dog chasing the tail. Like I'm going to keep chasing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's always going to be a new goal or a new milestone and just continuing to lean into that same attitude and the same thing that drives me every day, which is just like coming for everybody, back against the wall. Like you got one shot to do this full time or to live your dream. And like, you know, I'm going to keep shooting that motherfucker like every day until I die. You know what I mean?
I like it. it. So like this far into the business, what's been like the craziest thing that you've done or like the craziest place you've been, craziest person you've met?
Craziest, can you rephrase that?
Like what's been like the most unexpected thing that like you've done in while you've been doing this?
Yeah, I had one really recently that was like awesome. That was really cool. This is my biggest interaction. But I think this was one that like meant some of the most to me. So this like guy that like he I think almost won the Cy Young in MLB this year, which is like the pitching MVP.
Okay.
He started the All-Star game for the MLB this year. And he followed one of my friends on Twitter recently.
Yep.
So my friend DM'd him and was like, yo, like, thank you for following me. Like, I'm a huge fan. Like, this is really awesome. And he was like, yeah, like, of course, man, I saw Alex Caruso tag you in like a tweet, so I followed you.
That's insane.
And I was like floored. So I had no idea this guy followed me. Like he's like really big time, and he's telling someone else that like he followed them because of me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where it wasn't like someone reaching out. It was like he like this like super all-star pitcher is telling someone else, oh yeah, like Alex like tagged me.
That's
like,
actually crazy.
That's a really, really cool thing. A really cool part of it. I think another one that was like really, really cool was like the first time that like I got to meet like a professional athlete or do something most people might have heard. Des Bryant, he was like an all-star wide receiver for the Cowboys. A friend of mine that like worked for his company was like, do you want to do a podcast with Des? And like it was cool because like it wasn't about like me getting to do it with like Des Bryant. It was like knowing like the reaction of all my friends of like telling them I'm getting to do something with Des Bryant.
Yeah.
I think that was like one of the coolest things, like getting to like meet him and talk to him, and it was the coolest because I ended up going to like a fantasy football convention for people that do content creators, and Des went to it. So like a lot of people were like going up to meet him and like say hi to him and fanboying. And like when I went up, he's like, "Oh, like, what's up, Alex?"
That's crazy.
So like when there's all these other people that are there, like he doesn't know me, like we're not really friends, but like he knew who I was like when I went up. And that was like a cool thing around that other people were like who's this asshole? Like you know what I mean? And I think that was like a really cool one. I think the craziest one was probably like a year ago, like right as I was kind of nearing the turn at the end of my senior year of school, and getting to tell my parents that I think I can do it full time. Mm-hmm. Because there was always that conversation of like what's gonna happen. Like I worked in a restaurant every Friday night all 4 years of school. Like I had 2 other jobs on top of that, and like finally getting to that point where all that work paid off, and like I wasn't making crazy money. Yeah. But it was like I could tell my parents that like I'm gonna do this full time, and there wasn't a question or like a thought anymore. It was just like, this is what I'm gonna do. So I think that was probably like my proudest moment, is finally getting to that point where like the same thing that went back to that younger kid that just wanted one guest in his podcast. Mm-hmm. The second you get a full-time opportunity, it was like, how can I make the most of that, and how can I take advantage of that? And that's what I'm trying to do now. Mm-hmm. Is have the same mindset as that kid that when I got that first podcast guest, and it was the coolest thing in the world to have someone that had like 20,000 followers that wasn't even a full-time person, but they were cool to me. But now it's the same with every opportunity, like doing it full-time is like, how can I make the most of it? And like getting to tell my parents that like all that hard work's finally paying off. Like that was like the best.
Such an incredible conversation to have. I get to have it. I went full time this summer. It's so cool. Yeah, it just sort of happened. I was like, hey, I think this went 1 month at a time, and then the end of summer, I just worked 4 months, making more than I made before. I worked 3 summers, full jobs, but. And
you made more in that summer.
Basically, yeah.
And like so, like,
we don't even take money out of this either.
Wow. And like, what do you like? Like, did you take time to like go back and just think about like the memories of like that same?
Yeah, absolutely.
That same kid. So like, what was that like?
It's something I've been doing for a long time, and it's something where I just kind of knew. Like we kind of talked about it before when you were writing them without getting paid. Yeah. I was gonna do it anyway, but now I just like now I can take more time. Someone's paying me to spend more time doing what I want to do, and like that's when it's like, okay, yeah, this is what I'm gonna do. Perfect. Yeah, and that perspective is like one of the biggest things. Like doing it is like, you know, we were talking today that like I used to like jump up and down, like almost screaming, like for no reason, when there was like 15 people like listen to a single podcast, like 14 out of 15, like beside that were not my family, like might have just clicked it and never listened to it. But it was like the milestones that like, whether it was 15 or the first time I got 50 or 100, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, like I had my first day like where I got 10 million views in a day on Twitter. But like that excitement was the exact same as it was when I got 10 people to listen to my podcast. Yeah. And that's never changed, like enjoying those milestones, whether it was 10 or 10 million. I was just as excited because it was something new that I'd never done before, and trying to keep that same perspective and keep enjoying that there's all like anytime you hit it, no matter what the milestone is, if you're doing it for the first time, like be excited about that and be proud of it.
Even like to this day, I think like one of the craziest things is just like seeing somebody wearing something that we made. Yeah. Whether it be somebody you know or somebody you don't know, like there'll be people that'll be wearing it, and I'm like, oh, look, I know you, but I didn't know you were gonna be wearing it today, and like that's surreal. But then when you see somebody that like you don't even know, and this actually happened a few weeks ago, I saw a kid at Fitchburg State wearing one of my hoodies, and I was like, yo, like nice hoodie, and he was just like, thanks, like I got it here, and I'm just like, yeah, like I'm the one that made it, and like, he didn't know me, and like it was just like one of those like super crazy things. It's just like I don't really know how to explain it. It's just like it feels surreal that like the thing that you're wearing was once like a drawing on my computer, and now it's like on you, and it's just insane to think about. It's just like one of those milestones that you talked about that it just doesn't feel real, you know.
And that's what people miss is like they think that like within a day or like a week that they're gonna have to like get 1 million views in a video or their like career's over.
Right.
But in reality, it's like, how can you just continue to like level up and find different milestones to hit? Like the milestones eventually do change and they get bigger, but I think I spent way too much time like looking at the people with the big milestones, and like you forget sometimes of just like you said, like you used to like not get paid at all, and now like you made more in like 3 months than you did in 3 years.
Right.
But there's going to be a time when you probably make more in like 1 day than you did this summer in 3 months.
Right.
But like trying to keep that same perspective that no matter like if the milestone's big for you, then that's great. That's all that matters.
Exactly.
Like, it doesn't have to be what the big celebrities making or doing, but like as long as you're taking a step up, like that's the most important part, that you're continuing to like get better. Yeah,
you have that passion in the perspective, because if you don't, and if it's not there, then it's gone. If we were just in this for a clothing business and it'd be like, all right, cool, I sold that guy, like good, I made money, but it's not. It's like that's something we made. You're attached to it. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
And you have those videos that you celebrate those milestones. It's because you earned it. It's not, you know it. You were there for every step of it, and that's why it means so much.
Yeah, like when you were talking, like you get one of the biggest days in sales, like you celebrate that because you've never done that.
Right.
Yeah.
Like yes, like maybe Nike probably made a little bit more than you did that day, or some other company, but that doesn't matter because like you just like leveled up and you just hit something big.
Yeah.
It's gonna take time. You know what I mean? But like finding ways to enjoy those milestones, I think makes all this like a lot more gratifying and a lot more easier to do. As long as you always can like find some joy in it or find something that you're getting better at.
I agree.
I think this is a good place to wind it down. We're gonna need a part 2. But
of course.
We're gonna need a part 2.
The way we've been ending it is with something you're blessed with and something you're envisioning for the future. So, do you want to start it off?
Okay, yeah. Something I'm blessed with is, I know I say this every single time, but like just the team I keep around me, I wouldn't be as far as I am without these guys. I don't know. What am I envisioning for the future? I don't know. Just success, a job, and just more success, more connections.
Success and more success.
More success and more success. That's all it is.
Something I'm blessed right now is we're here. It's Thanksgiving break right now. That's why all 3 of us are here. It's nice to be around family, take a break from everything, even if we gotta show up at 10 o'clock to record a podcast on Friday. But something I'm envisioning for the future is scaling this. We've been super grateful to have all these conversations. It's a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun.
You work on a computer all day, but then you can step back, talk to people with the same passion as you, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think something I'm blessed with, to kind of wrap up everything, is like I'm blessed by like the people who are willing to give me a shot and give me a chance. Because without those people, like this wouldn't be possible. And I think in the future, like I'm envisioning just continuing to prove those people right, and like make them feel thankful that they took that time with me and that it wasn't a waste of their time. And I think that I'm envisioning continuing to like either make those people proud or make them feel vindicated, or like continue to like make the people that believed in me, like continue to like show them that like I was like a good bet to make, but then the people on the other side envisioning continuing to prove those people wrong, so that they feel dumb for like ever saying it. I don't want them to like hurt, but like I want you to like feel it at the end of the day that like, I'm envisioning like, feeling you proved wrong, like, oh, like I shouldn't have said that.
I like that. Well, that's all we got. Big shout out to Alex for being here. Appreciate you. Thanks for tuning in. What is it? Like, subscribe, share.
Wherever you see this, give it some love.
Give it some love. Give it some reviews. Peace.